So there was obviously a street in north-south direction. You could pass the gate. North-south and south-north direction. If you come a bit over here, you can recognize much better that right in the middle, in east-west direction, there is a gate. So the main passage was in this direction, east, west and west-east. So 4 passages, tetra, gate, pilion. It used to be the main entrance to the sanctuary of Aphrodite, not directly to the temple itself, because if you look in this direction, in the background, behind the big tree, there is some columns which used to be the temple of Aphrodite. But temples like this, bigger ones, used to have a large sanctuary around of it, so-called temenos, which was the sacred area of the temple, which was even an asylum area where people found protection against persecutors, for example, pretty similar to church asylum, which exists till today. So it was actually the main entrance gate to a large area, which is the so-called temenos of the temple. From here to where you see the temple, pretty a large distance, that shows that the temple of Aphrodite here in Aphrodisias was, of course, the main temple, the most important one, dedicated to the goddess, from who they used to believe that she is the protectress of this city. Let's move to the temple itself.
Yeah, today.
You are going to come this way back. On your way back, you can take still photos.
Yeah, okay. Huh? Yeah, believe me.
Also, we go to back and go to back.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yes, yes, what the hand below hayake.
Yes, I should also. What target cancel?
Yeah.
Let's come bring my arms up.
Yeah.
This great top really there. I was center finger. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Tusen tack. Det var smart å ha den i bagen.
Yeah. Take a see it.
For the video.
Yeah, took video. Oh, then also,
Take shots for
ling na po Acropolis.
Yeah.
Minan hanari kay Gensay Besay.
Hvem?
Papo de.
Jo, men i bilen da.
Oh.
Gå for det.
Papo de her,
Vi trenger ikke å gå en time rundt.
Do you know this? You know it, huh? No?
Yeah.
This actually is known as the Greek pattern, but to be exact, it was the lines you see show the windings of the Meander River. This pattern is symbolizing the river Meandros, meander. So that's why actually officially it's the meander pattern. And it's very popular. It was a creation of the Ionian Greeks thousands of years ago. Not exactly here maybe, but in this region. Nowadays it's known all around the world. Yesterday, this lady had a dress with the meander pattern on it. And another guy, I have seen another guy with a shirt on which there was I think it was your shirt yesterday, if I'm, no, you, no. A shirt I saw with roads and this meander pattern, and the writing was in that circle. So what I'm trying to say is, expensive, exclusive fashion designers, Versace, for example, is using a lot of this pattern in his designs. Medusa hats, for example, so it's still popular, and it is originally here from Asia Minor, because this is where the river is. The river Meandros, and it creates very fertile lands. I told you, today on the drive to the coast, we will pass that plain in which the river is. We won't see it, but it delivers the fresh water for irrigation, agriculture, I told you, cotton and vegetables and fruits and much more. And so these rectangulars showing these flowers inside is a symbol for the fertility of the lands the river runs through. A very usual decoration. Let's get into the temple itself.
Temple. Nej. Det är så massa sten här.
I don't know what the flowers are in there. I think some. Did you see there was a bride when we came in? Yeah, this is very popular. Ancient sites like this is very popular for wedding photos. Maybe they forgot them. I don't know. So this has no significant meaning. Don't ask me about why are there flowers. They're not there since 2,000 years. Okay. So now, first of all, the columns you can see, which used to form a huge courtyard in which we are standing, all of them got re-erected. And for the stability, they have used these metal rings. You see the one over there? Next earthquake, it's going to collapse again. At least it looks like that. So on such a courtyard, so temple architecture is always very similar. Most often, you see a large courtyard like this, which was open to the sky because the access to the sky for the gods must have been opened. But the temple actually was surrounded by another, not columns, but a wall outside. Actually, we passed that wall which collapsed, but there was a wall high like the columns. So in between the columns and the wall, there was a colonnade around with a rooftop. But here, it was open to the sky. Where I am standing, have a look. You must come a bit closer, otherwise you can't see these details. So here where I am standing, there was a wall going up, closing this area, which was the naos, sacred room in which the temple's statue was standing. In this room, it only was access for the high priests of the temple, but this area was public. So here you see this rough surface, you see the holes and these grooves. They used to have lead, fluid, hot lead was filled into these holes. Next piece on top had the same kind of hole, so the hole got filled with the lead. What was left over got pressed out from this groove which disappeared when the next piece was set up on the top of it, and the lead, when it cooled and hardened, worked like a nail in between two pieces. Furthermore, the rough surface was made to stop the material slipping on top of each other. And you can see that the rough surface begins over there in this corner. You can see there is a polished edge. Okay, so this edge was overhanging, let's say. And here you can see a spot which is polished. You see that between these holes? Because here there was a gate,
Oh, yeah.
a door for the access into this room. And it was a door in a big wall. Later, when the pagan belief was over and people stopped believing in the pagan gods, instead, when those who started to follow the teach of Jesus, soon they started to turn temples to churches. That's why you can see this apse built in. If you look to that material,
Yeah.
it's all rubble stone,
Yeah, that's
reused. And there is a big difference between this construction, which is Hellenistic, and there is no mortar invented yet. Mortar is a material, mortar in between the stones was an invention of the Romans. The Romans used to call it cementium. That's where cement comes from. So as long there was no cementium, they used the lead fillings, they used iron claps, this details like the rough surfaces. But as soon the Romans invented cementium, they started to use much smaller stone material. Brick stone they used to produce as like rubble stone. So that this is much later. This is 6th century AD, when the temple was turned to a church. They have built in this apse, and so an apse was created out of the naos. And this got tradition. Every church has an area like this. It is different from church to church. Back in Rhodes, maybe you like to visit an Orthodox church. You would say that here still they have a wall, the so-called iconoclasm, on which most often there is depictions of scenes from the Bible. Iconas, pictures. From the time when people were not reading, to tell the story of the Bible in pictures. And this got tradition. So in Orthodox churches, you still have this iconoclasm. Sorry?
Iconostasis, because the iconoclasm was the time when they
Sorry.
were fighting about the icons.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was when these pictures got forbidden
Yeah.
from 740s to 850s. For a while in Christianity, depiction of saints and others was forbidden. Pretty similar to Islam. In Islam, it's not allowed. Huh?
I think it was influenced by Islam.